One, two, three, start. The creation of a small farmers agro business consortium was announced with much fanfare nearly 6 years ago. However, the promise remained on paper and no step was taken to implement it. I am pleased to announce that the government has taken steps to make SFAC function as a high level coordination body at the center and in the states to promote public and private investments in agribusiness. It will also encourage mutually beneficial collaboration between the cooperative sector and the corporate sector. SFAC has started the work of rapidly creating a network of institutions in the state to attract investments in post harvest facilities like cold storage or sand grain silos. It will help farmers to part process agricultural commodities like vegetables, fruits, ginger, groundnuts, etc. for value addition. It will also provide a link between the private sector, farmers, cooperatives, agricultural NGOs, and the government. Northeastern states and remote and backward areas will be the special focus of SFAC in order to create price stability for farm products which have a high potential for value addition. The government has taken steps to strengthen and expand the future exchanges in many commodities. A proper future exchange is important as it will help the farmer survive the vagaries of market forces. As other business do, it will provide him a place to hedge his produce and reduce his risk. The center has recently strengthened the Forward Markets Commission, which will soon have many regional offices. Many more commodities will be taken for forward marketing. Cotton, followed by oilseeds and edible oil, will come under its purview immediately. Globalization has thrown a major challenge before the Indian food processing industry. However, it has also thrown open new opportunities for exports. The old trade barriers are gradually disappearing. The quantitative restrictions on import of food products are being removed in a phased manner as per our commitment to the WTO. The Indian industry has to now compete in a global environment. This means that the food processing industry has to become globally competitive, cut costs, improve productivity, upgrade quality, and adopt effective effective marketing strategies. There is considerable scope for increasing our exports of agro products by taking advantage of India's geographical and climatic strengths of our country can also be a very good production base for joint ventures for export. As such, we believe that organization of primary producers in local, state level and national cooperatives is a reliable way of ensuring distributive justice. Cooperatives is a reliable way of ensuring distributive justice. Cooperative can also be effective channels to attract investments in agriculture and agro business. The realization of both these objectives through cooperatives has been amply demonstrated by your own state. It is, however, a fact that the cooperative sector is handicapped by many unnecessary constraints because of which it is unable to fully benefit from reforms in the rest of the economy. In order to address this widely felt need, the government will soon unveil the National Rural Cooperatives policy. One of the primary aims of the new policy will be to simplify the rules and regulations governing farm cooperatives. As a first step, we shall soon enact the long pending Multi-State Cooperative Act in line with the recommendations of the National Task Force on Information Technology. The government has decided to promote information technology in agriculture and agro business in a big way. It can be a major tool for boosting productivity and efficiency in production and marketing. Some states, for example, have taken up the task of networking all the mandis to provide better market information. I am happy to note here the excellent progress in implementing the Wired Villages pilot project at Varnanagar in Maharashtra, which demonstrate the benefit of IT for rural development. The project is a joint effort of the central government of Maharashtra, the Center for Development of Advanced Computing, Pune, and the Varnanagar Cooperative Complex. I congratulate the state government for creating a successful pilot project which can be emulated in cooperatives in many parts of the state and the country. On its part, the center will soon unveil a national scheme that will support such IT projects in the farm sector in a collaborative framework. In view of the critical importance of this sector, the government will constitute a high-level task force on food and agro-industries management policy headed by Agriculture Minister. It will comprise representatives from the states' agriculture universities and R&D centers, prominent farmers and businessmen in the sector. The task force will submit an action plan for examination and adoption by the government within the next 3 months. With these words, I inaugurate the Agro Advantage Maharashtra Convention and express the hope that it will bring new investments into the farm sector in the state and in the rest of the country and bring prosperity for all. I extend again a very warm welcome to all of you who have come from various parts of the world to attend this meeting of global Indian entrepreneurs. For nearly 200 years now, Indians have sailed to distant shores in search of employment and trade. Many, the forefathers of some of you, settled where they worked. The conditions in the early days of migration were neither easy nor happy, but they worked hard and diligently. Some of them displayed their inherent entrepreneurship and established themselves in business. Early migrants went to Canada, America, and China, and wherever there was British colonial presence. Over the years, the profile of migrants has changed. We still provide skilled labor to the Gulf state and to other areas in the Middle East, but now a more important segment comprises of professionals, teachers, scientists, computer engineers and programmers, doctors, managers, bankers, and even gurus who are being acclaimed in areas of top management and creative thought. Similarly, in trade and industry, many businessmen of Indian origin have developed entrepreneurial skills which their host countries are finding valuable to their economies. We recognize and applaud these luminaries on their success. I am particularly happy that some of those who have distinguished themselves in this regard are in our midst today. In the last 50 years, Indians have developed certain competitive advantages, including a large technical and scientific manpower base, fairly well-developed infrastructure, a large network of banks, a well-established capital market, and a good educational system. India has always had a substantial private sector active in all areas of the economy. A vibrant part of Indian initiative is manifested in the small-scale sector. This comprises thousands of small industrial units scattered around the country. The Indian corporate sector is large and diversified with a mix of ownership in public, private and cooperative sectors and small, medium and large sized enterprises. Our legal system is fair and just, and we have the advantage of being a part of the English speaking world. These factors make India a good destination. We are all aware of the recent crises which have affected the economies of Southeast Asia and Russia. Even Japan is facing difficulties. At the same time, we may note the fact that our country remained by and large unaffected by these economic disturbances. This speaks well of the resilience of our economy has developed over the years. Despite being part of the globalization process, our fundamental remained strong and helped us to stay on course and prevented any major macroeconomic imbalances. More significantly, a sum of about 12 billion US dollars has come in each of last two fiscal years as direct remittance from Indians abroad. I need hardly emphasize how useful a role these resources have been playing in our economic development efforts. In the last 7 to 8 months since my government took office, we have taken several initiatives aimed at revitalizing economic growth, promoting strong infrastructure development and bringing about an information technology revolution within the country. Several of these measures are already under implementation. In certain other cases, legislative bills will need to receive parliamentary approval next month. The direction, however, is clear. Economic reforms are here to stay, and if anything, the process is being accelerated. We all appreciate the crucial importance of infrastructure in our development process. Towards this end, we have taken a number of decisions. One, plan outlay for the power sector has been significantly stepped up this year. Two, scope of it automatic approval for foreign direct investment is power has been liberalized by placing foreign equity participation up to 100% on the automatic approval route, provided the foreign equity in any such project doesn't exceed rupees 1500 crore. 3. The procedure for issue of counter guarantee to eligible private power projects has been simplified and counter guarantees have recently been issued to 3 projects: Visakhapatnam in Andhra Pradesh, Neyveli in Tamil Nadu, and Bhadravati in Maharashtra. 4. The Electricity Regulatory Commission Act 1998 has been enacted to provide for establishment of central and state electricity regulatory commissions, rationalization of electricity tariff, and transparent policies regarding subsidies. The Central Commission has begun functioning. The process of setting up state level commissions in various states. 5. The Electricity Laws Amendment Act 1998 has been enacted to coordinate the operation of the grid system and allow greater flow of resources in the transmission sector. 6. In the petroleum and natural gas sector, government has decided to sign production sharing contracts with private parties for 18 exploration blocks covering an area of over 50,000 square kilometers. 7. Bids will be invited shortly under the new exploration licensing policy, for which the way has been paved with the introduction of a liberalized royalty regime. 8. The government will offer blocks to provide and national oil companies for the exploration and exploitation of coal, which is in abundance in India. And 9. The process of pricing reforms in the petroleum sector is being carried forward by initiating the dismantling of administrated pricing mechanism in phase from April 1st, 1998. Stop.